What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stops That Count podcast. In this episode, we will be talking about the Liga MX semifinals, first leg, and Champions League semifinals. And we might get into some MMA and boxing news. First, I'll start talking about the Champions League semifinals, getting into the Real Madrid versus Manchester City game. It started off great for City as they controlled the first half, with Courtois making many great saves, but at the 23rd minute, Bernardo Silva was able to open the scoring for the citizens with an amazing near post finish. And just as Real Madrid was getting into the game, City striked again at the 37th minute, a perfectly placed header by Bernardo Silva again. City went into the break with 72% possession time and more than double the amount of total passes. This shouldn't be a surprise as the first leg ended with about the same stat. Now, the second half was better contested, but City still scored another 2 goals, winning the game 4-0 and advancing to the finals. Complete domination from the possible treble winning side. Let me know in the comments, what did you guys think was going to happen? I thought it was going to be a way closer game than this. Now getting into the next Champions League semifinal, my beloved AC Milan. They lost in a disappointing fashion, being held scoreless in both games against Inter, and 3 games in a row where Milan have been unable to score against Inter. There is really only a couple players that are savable from this past couple of games, and those are, in my opinion, Sandro Tonali. He was literally everything for us in both of the Inter games, and Theo Hernandez. These two were pretty much the only players that I think all Milan fans would say deserve to be in the team. A player I don't know how he's still there is Junior Macias. This guy should not be starting. He's done nothing this past couple of months to show he's capable of starting in a Champions League semifinal. It's obvious the positions we need and we need to get younger at. I'll talk more about who I would like them to sign as the season comes to an end, but for a team that no one saw getting this far to be here shows a great base being built, and for those saying they need to replace Paolo Maldini, I think they need to shut up. It's a long process, and one day Milan will be back to the old times. Now, getting into the Liga MX semifinals. First, I'll start talking about the Monterrey versus Tigres game. It started off with things getting very chippy between the two, and at around the 31st minute, El Pendejazo de Nahuel Guzman isn't able to save what looked to be an average free kick from Maxi Mesa and giving Monterrey the lead. The second half was a little bit of the same, with both sides attacking very well, but that led to Tigres being able to counter and Sebastian Cordova scoring a goal 5 minutes into the second half. Now, it did seem as if Tigres scored again, but it was called back for an offsides, and from that point, it was a very boring game. The second leg should be going on right now, and I believe Tigres will be able to pull off the win, securing themselves a spot in the final. Now for the game everybody had been waiting for. America versus Chivas. The first half of this game started off amazing for both teams, with many chances being created and even a goal getting called back from a close offsides. And some people would say the refereeing was poor, but it was poor for both sides. I would say the first half was dominated by Luis Angel Malagon, stopping everything Chivas was shooting at him. They were attacking very well, but couldn't get past him. One of the saves made by Malagon was an amazing one-on-one save on Alexis Vega, who still has yet to score a goal on America while he wears the Chivas jersey. For a player who's been dying to go to Europe, it's not the best look, and maybe that would be the best for both him and Chivas. They went into the half with America having more possession time, but other than that, it was a very close first half. At the start of the second half, they both started to play pretty bad, but that didn't stop America from scoring in the 60th minute. A perfectly filtered ball from Diego Valdez to Alex Sendejas leads to Alex finishing it nicely. This was the only goal scored in the match, and it was, of course, scored by a former Chivas player. Talking a little bit more about Chivas, they started the second half and it looked as if they were already defending for the tie. As when they were attacking, you would see 4, maybe 5 players on America's side helping with the attack, and that really led to nothing. There wasn't any chances created until Chivas started to put on more pressure around the 85th minute. This is not a way to play a game, especially in the Liga, when you're already needing the win due to table positioning. Chivas had many chances to put them away, but they didn't. Now, as for how I see the second leg going, I believe that Chivas will pull off the 2-0 victory. We had every chance to win, and Sunday, I believe they will be converting on those chances, and it will be a Tigres versus Chivas final. Now for some news. First, getting into boxing, the Regis Prograis versus Liam Paro fight has been canceled as Liam has had to pull out due to injury. Hopefully, they're able to find a good opponent for Regis. It has been said Arnold Barboza has not accepted the fight for many reasons. One being Matchroom is offering little money and they still want him to fight on June 17th, which would leave him with a 4-week camp. What do you guys think? Would you accept a fight on those terms for a world title, especially since it's your first world title opportunity? It was also announced that Ryan Garcia will now be trained by Derek James. This is good for Ryan to work around top class fighters and develop himself more as not just a fighter, but as a person. As he'll get out of his comfort zone, this will be his first time training outside of Southern California. Also announced was Archer Beterbiev versus Callum Smith is set for early August in Quebec. Now getting into some UFC fights that were announced by Dana White. First, the UFC 291 card. What a fucking card. If you guys haven't seen it, it's headlined by Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. The co-main event is Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Yes, he's going up against the only other guy to beat Izzy in the octagon. The fight before that would probably be the one that intrigues me the most, and that is Paulo Costa fights Ikram Aliskerov. Ikram's first ranked opponent, and it's a top 5 opponent. Although Paulo has said it's not official, but if the UFC announced it, I don't believe it could get more official than that. And this would be the second time that Paulo has done this. Also announced was Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley for the bantamweight title at UFC 292 in Boston. Thank you guys for staying until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. If you've gotten this far, follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you guys next week as we talk about what went down this past weekend. See you then.